Hello, everyone, and welcome back to tomorrow's weather today. And today we will be talking about the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, which starts in 9 days on June 1st, which is a Monday. Um, I am expecting this year to be above average, and so is the National Hurricane Center. And the National Hurricane Center is saying a 60% chance for an above average season, a 30% chance for near normal, and only a 10% for it to be below normal. Um, they're calling for 13 to 19 named storms. I'm pretty sure average is up to 12. I'm pretty sure 6 to 10 hurricanes. Usually that's less than that, and major hurricanes it's usually 1 to 3, and they're obviously calling for 3 to 6, which is a big deal. This doesn't necessarily mean um, that we're gonna have landfalls. It just means that there's gonna be a higher chance of more storms. Um, and we have our names down here. We already went through Arthur last week. I'm seeing the chance for possibly a Bertha to come out in the next week or two, um, but it's still far out. So we have all these names to go through, and it's a lot. So we're gonna start with our sea surface temperatures. So looking here, this is our Nino region in the oceans, which is right in here. Um, and we can see that they are below average right now, meaning that right now we are in a neutral phase because in order for this to be classified as a La Nina, it needs to be negative zero point 0.5 degrees Celsius cooler, and for an El Nino, zero point 0.5 degrees above average for a span of 3 months, I believe. And as you can see, we're on this downward trend. We are leveling out as of late, but I wouldn't be surprised if it continues. Um, so now looking at the Atlantic 7-day change, we can see for the most part for the tropical part of the Atlantic, it is above average to normal, and then the Gulf is mostly above average with some spots of below average temperatures, and the Caribbean is below average for the most part, or has been trending cooler. Um, but overall, looking at the actual sea surface temp anomalies, very cold waters up here in the North Atlantic for right now. Um, and the MDR is normal to slightly below normal. But the Gulf and the Caribbean are average to above average, and so is most of the tropical Atlantic, and down near the southeastern coast. So we're going to look at the CFS model. This is the CFS monthly, and to start off, we are looking at the bulk shear anomalies. The oranges and reds being above normal, and the blues being below normal. So looking at this for June, this is this morning's run or last night's run. For June, we're seeing below average shear for the southwestern Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, which is where you expect to see storms in June, because shear is always high out here in the Caribbean and in the MDR, the main development region, which is out here. Um, and there's going to be a lot of dust out here too, coming off of Africa. But in the MDR, we do have above average shear. And moving this along into July, we can see that for most of the Atlantic there is below average shear, and this isn't the first run that's showing it. It's being adamant about below average shear. It is weakening it and making it more closer to average in the last few runs, but we can see that for the most part, shear is below average for July. Moving into August, it's calling for below average shear in the for most of the Caribbean. And the Gulf of Mexico. The MDR is close to average with some pockets of heavier, of stronger shear. Moving into September, the peak month, right in here, where the MDR is, it's looking mostly average to below average. Once you get like down here, it's too close to the equator, um, as the equator is down here on the edge of the screen. Um, and then close to home, again below average. But in here, there are some above average shear anomalies. October, where we start to shift more back over here and start shutting down this, even though we could, um, towards the beginning of the month, get storms out here and then track across the Atlantic. It is average for this area, um, but close to home is above average shear, which um, it's not a good thing, according to the CFS. In November, where we look down in the Caribbean, in the Gulf, above average for the Gulf, it's looking like, according to the CFS, and below average for the Caribbean. Now, looking at the CAN-SNPs model, looking at June, we could see that it's calling for below average to average for most of the Atlantic, maybe a little bit of below, above average, which is it's a little different. It's very different from the CFS. Um, and then moving ahead to July, for the most part, below average for the entire Atlantic. And then even for August and September and October and November, seeing below average shear for most of the Atlantic. Now moving over to the NMME model, this here we're looking at sea surface temperatures anomalies, what this is forecasting, and as we were talking about, above average for most of the Atlantic, and moving it along, it just keeps it above average for the entire season. And this starts in August. Um, for some reason, I don't know why, but oh, this hasn't been updated. That would make sense. Um, so scratch that model. I did not realize that this hasn't been ran since last July. That's a big mistake, but um, I'll edit that out. Sorry about that. I found a model on Tropical Tidbits that it's called the NMME model, which hasn't been ran since last July, which I didn't realize. I was going to show you what the sea surface temperature anomalies were, but obviously that's not going to do us any good as this is from last year. So overall, this will be a busy Atlantic hurricane season, which I expect. Remember, last year we didn't really get going until the end of August. We only had 3 storms through the end of August, and then Dorian happened, and it became busy after that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like that. Oh, one last thing, I do want to go to the GFS and show you what I have been seeing. Um, so we're gonna pull this ahead. Um, we're gonna see this tropical wave out here, possibly try to develop. This is next Friday. This is a week away, so it probably might not. It probably won't happen, but the GFS has been showing it for a few runs now, so I'll keep an eye on that. Doesn't look any threat to land, and a Central America, a gyre, a big area of spin in the atmosphere. The GFS is trying to produce that down here. Whether that produces a storm in the Pacific, the Eastern Pacific, or the energy transfers over to the Atlantic is yet to be seen. But the GFS has been hinting at a storms down here in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean for some time now. So, thank you all for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Click the links in the description for other YouTubers, and join the Discord. Thank you all for watching. Have a good day.